Jovan Buha! Buha!
Yo, I'm Jovan Buha, Lakers beat writer for The Athletic, and welcome to episode 42 of Buha's Block. I'm here in Las Vegas for NBA Summer League. I did not attend the Team USA Canada exhibition game tonight, though I did catch it, and we'll have a reaction in tonight's episode, as well as the Lakers Heat Cali Classic finale for the Lakers. They dropped a tough one to finish the Cali Classic 0-3, blew an 8-point lead with a few minutes left. Miami closed the game out on a 12-0 run in a disaster class for the Lakers. So let's get into the Team USA exhibition first, and then the Lakers Summer League. So Team USA beat Canada 86-72. This was essentially a preseason game, the first of several exhibition games for Team USA before they tip off the 2024 Olympics in Paris. And of note, Kevin Durant missed this game with a calf injury. Kawhi Leonard is no longer on the team. He was replaced by Derek White in what has somehow become a controversial decision where Jaylen Brown called out Team USA and Nike on Twitter, and then Grant Hill had to talk about that situation and defend the pick for Derek White. So there was some Celtics drama for Laker fans out there that enjoyed that. But that aside, so Team USA basically had 10 available players from the 12-man roster. And so they went with basically two 5-man units, the starting unit, and then a bench unit. And Steve Kerr had talked about this during the huddle of one of the practices, where he said he wanted to get the guys used to playing these like 5-6 minute bursts in comparison with them typically playing 10, 12, 14, even 16 straight minutes with their NBA teams. So he wanted to acclimate them to the international game, where they're more likely to be playing 5 to 8 minute shifts rather than the, again, 10 to 14 or even 10 to 16 minute shifts that they play at the NBA level. And so with no Kevin Durant and no Derek White, he went with Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Jrue Holiday, Devin Booker, and Steph Curry as the starting lineup. And then the bench lineup was primarily Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, and Tyrese Haliburton. And at first glance, the starting lineup did not make sense to me. He went with a 3-guard lineup, which has been something that has driven Warriors fans crazy for years. I saw a lot of Darvin Ham references and memes on social media to that. So Laker fans could also relate to the plight of playing 3 guards together. And like Jrue Holiday is capable of defending 1 through 3 and even 1 through 4, depending on who the power forward is. And in the international game, teams tend to be a bit smaller in terms of like they don't have the same size and length as the NBA. Now they're tougher and they're more physical, and because of the rules, they can be more physical and foul more, and it's a different type of game. But in general, you can get away with more 3-guard lineups. I mean, we've seen Team USA go with 5 wing lineups in the international game, so you can get away with it. And Jrue Holiday is that caliber of defender where you could go smaller with him technically at small forward. I think the surprising thing for me was Jrue starting, but then also Devin Booker getting the nod over Anthony Edwards. And I don't know if that was like a seniority thing or because Jrue Holiday was starting more for defensive purposes as like a point of attack defender and a wing defender, that they wanted to have the better shooter and the player that could function better off the ball in Devin Booker. So I'm not quite sure why Devin Booker got the nod over Anthony Edwards. And that starting lineup got out to a slow start. They were missing a bunch of shots. They were struggling with turnovers. Joel Embiid, and this is going to be like, we're going to tie this back to the Lakers because Joel Embiid really struggled tonight. I have the box score here. He fouled out in 12 minutes, was just 2 for 5 from the floor, and had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, did finish with 5 points, but had 4 turnovers. So he had double the amount of turnovers than he did assists. He had nearly as many turnovers as he had points. and he had nearly as many turnovers as he had fouls. And it was just not a great Joel Embiid performance. And because of his stature as a former MVP, and I think most people would have him as a top 5 or 6 player, even when factoring in his injuries, I think he's going to continue to start over Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis had stretches in this game where he was Team USA's best player, or at least most impactful player. And he crushed it tonight. So AD in his 19 minutes was 5 for 10 from the floor, but had 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. Did have 2 turnovers, only 2 fouls. So I think Anthony Davis is the perfect international big man just because he's so versatile and switchable defensively. He can play any type of pick and roll coverage. He can protect the rim. He can contest shooters. He can rotate from the 3-point line back to the rim to contest a shot, to block a shot, or to rebound. And then offensively, he's gotten so much more comfortable as a passing hub and in a 5-out system, dating back to the Lakers using him that way more last season. So his ability to both screen and roll and function as a dive man and a roller, that is a very dangerous player, especially against smaller teams. But his ability to catch lobs and finish, his ability to score against mismatches, and then his ability to dribble handoff and set good screens around the perimeter. Obviously, Bam Adebayo is used to doing that in Miami, but he's a bit smaller than AD, and he isn't the same level of defensive rebounder or rim protector that Anthony Davis is. And then he's also not the level of scorer or threat that Anthony Davis is offensively. Anthony Davis is just more skilled and more talented than Bam Adebayo. I mean, it's very close. We're splitting hairs here, but when we're talking about who should be the starting center, I think it should be Anthony Davis. And I think he showed it with his defensive versatility, with his playmaking, and with his fit within a 5-out system compared to a player like Embiid, who's much more used to ISOs and post-ups and more of an NBA style game. So I think Anthony Davis was a seamless fit whenever he replaced Joel Embiid with the starters. And I think that Team USA needs to lean into more AD. And maybe because of Joel Embiid and his status and just his name. And again, if we're ranking players, like, you would put Joel Embiid ahead of Anthony Davis. And that sort of alpha pecking order always kind of matters when it comes to Team USA. But I think that Anthony Davis should at least be the closing center over Joel Embiid, if not the starting center as well. I think that he just fits so much better with guys like Steph Curry and LeBron James. So that was one takeaway for me. It was just Anthony Davis's fit within Team USA's offense and their defense. Now, what I will say is I did like this second unit look of Tyrese Haliburton continues to thrive at the Team USA level. He was really good during the World Cup, and they used him as this change of pace, energy boost as a second unit creator who would just run fast breaks and play with tempo and really just change the tenor and the pace of a game whenever he entered it. And he did the same thing tonight when he was subbed in. And I like that he's playing with a guy like Anthony Edwards who could get out in transition, another athletic finisher in Jason Tatum, and then 2 solid passers, one really good passer in Bam Adebayo, and then another solid passer in Anthony Davis. So the second unit actually makes a lot of sense together. And I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if that was just the way that they stumbled into it. And then the other thing within all this is Kevin Durant is going to play. Kevin Durant is not going to be on the outskirts of the rotation. I suspect Derek White will likely be the 12th man. And that was part of why they chose him over Jaylen Brown, is because he can, they could use another guard. They could use another point of attack guy, a more defensive minded player. If you look at their options right now, it is primarily Drew Holiday and Anthony Edwards. So bringing in another guy that could do that in Derek White, there is some value in that. But putting White aside, you then have 11 guys vying for likely 9 spots in the rotation, maybe 10. Maybe they do end up playing closer to 10, and it ends up being 2 5-man units, and they do blend them a bit together. And then obviously they close with whoever the 5 best players are that given game, or maybe they do settle on a closing lineup. But for me, I really like the identity of that bench group, because when you look at it, Tyrese Haliburton is one of the weakest defenders on the team. if not the weakest. But when you protect him with Edwards and Tatum and Bam and AD, it works. Like you have 4 plus, clearly plus defenders, 4 elite defenders around him, 2 really good perimeter defenders in Edwards and Tatum, and then 2 defensive player of the year candidates, like all defense guys in Bam and AD. So you have the protection there for Tyrese, and then you have the athleticism and the skill to then turn that into transition and provide this energy boost. I just think when we look at what the starting lineup should be, I suspect Embiid will stay the starter, LeBron will remain in the starting lineup, and Steph will remain in the starting lineup. And then I think KD will probably end up starting. And to me, I would then go with Anthony Edwards and use Anthony Edwards as the shooting guard and as the primary wing stopper, like perimeter defender guy. Because obviously, if Steph is out there, you're going to want another defensive-minded player. And maybe for Ant, he wants a certain offensive role. And already there was the quote about him saying he's the number 1 option on the team. And there was another quote where Steve Kerr relayed to him that Dwayne Wade came off the bench for Kobe Bryant. And Anthony Edwards said that there's no Kobe on this team. So there might be some fit concern with a guy like Anthony Edwards where he's going to want a certain offensive role, a certain amount of shots. And maybe that's better in like a 6th man role where he can do that more with the second unit. So maybe they end up keeping Devin Booker or Jrue Holiday at shooting guard. Like Jrue Holiday, I think people underestimate, like you hear the name, and if we're ranking the guys, like Jrue Holiday is probably 11th and Derek White would be 12th, or some could argue for Derek White at 11 and Jrue for 12. Jrue Holiday is just a winning player at any level and under any circumstance, and his defensive ability to switch again 1 through 3 or even 1 through 4 makes him an indispensable role player on a team like this. I just also think like when we talk about legacy and seniority and pedigree and all that stuff, I just have a hard time seeing a guy like Kevin Durant coming off the bench. And I have a hard time seeing Jrue Holiday continue to start over guys like Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum, and then potentially Kevin Durant. I don't know what's going to happen with the starting lineup. I was, again, very surprised. Like if you asked me coming in what I thought it was going to be, I thought it would be Embiid, LeBron, KD, Ant, and Steph. So again, no KD. It's hard to tell. Like maybe Holiday or Booker was like a placeholder for Durant, and sometimes you'll see that with coaches where if they want a certain bench unit and they don't want to disrupt that chemistry, they will throw in a random starter or a player they weren't normally projecting to be part of the bench, and then they will start that player just to not disrupt the bench's rhythm and their flow. So maybe that's the case here. These are all good problems to have, obviously, for Team USA. And just looking at it, like there's a lot of firepower, obviously, with this team. I think this is easily the best team that the U.S. has had since at least 2012. I think this is the deepest Olympic team ever. When you look at, you have 12 guys who are either legitimate all-stars or like all-star caliber guys. And typically there's always like the one, they'll have the young college guy who's not really ready to play, or they'll have like the fringe all-star guy, like the Michael Redd. And Michael Redd was really good, but he was not contributing to winning at the level of a Jrue Holiday or Derek White. And I wonder if this just goes in the direction of Bam and Derek White probably being the 11th and 12th men, and the center rotation ends up being Embiid and AD. The power forward rotation maybe ends up being LeBron and Tatum. The small forward rotation ends up being KD and either Holiday or Booker, whichever one isn't starting. The shooting guard rotation is then whichever one of Booker or Holiday is starting, along with Anthony Edwards. And then the point guard rotation is Steph Curry and Tyrese Halliburton. But it was a fun game. Like, obviously, again, it's preseason, basically exhibition. You don't want to take away too much from the actual like performance, but I think you start to see guys' roles, guys' chemistry, and just how the pieces fit together. And you could tell that LeBron and Steph were having so much fun playing together. The two-man chemistry, LeBron setting illegal screens off the ball for Steph. Like, he's already a higher level Draymond offensively. Obviously, we're not going to compare the defense, and LeBron's 39 and all that stuff. But like from an offensive perspective, in terms of being able to pass and screen and that two-man game, like LeBron is obviously LeBron, and he could do everything Draymond could do offensively and then some, just given his scoring and his shooting and all of his offensive skills. So that's a fun two-man game. That's a fun partnership. And I can't wait to see the moments that those two have throughout this process. And then once they add in Kevin Durant, those three playing together and them making history as the three best players of their generation, the three best players arguably of the 2010s and on, and be arguably the three best players of the millennium. Like I think you throw in Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant and Shaq, and like the list starts to grow, right? But those three guys are in that conversation, and it's just going to be awesome to see those three guys play together. So I can't wait to see what happens with this team. I think they're going to win gold. I think they are, again, the deepest Olympic team we've ever had and one of the most talented for sure. I would really have to break it down, and maybe that's a summer project as we get closer to the Olympics as far as like where they rank compared to 1992 and 2008 and 2012. But for now, I thought tonight was a good show of this team's talent at the center spot, the defensive versatility, the size and athleticism they have, multiple guys who can attack off the ball, and just once they add KD, like the shooting between Curry and Booker and Durant and Tatum, it's going to be just incredible to watch. So I can't wait. And now it is time to talk about the Lakers Summer League team, which has been an eyesore for anyone who has watched any of the first three games. This has not been a good Summer League team. This has not been a fun Summer League team to watch. Like Bronny, I think just the newness with the Bronny situation, the novelty of it all, like that, I think is a fun dynamic of just seeing Bronny and his defense and how he fits in offensively and the crowd reaction to Bronny and all that stuff. And like, we know that Bronny, all eyes are on him. He's getting a certain level of attention. So like Bronny, anything that he does is interesting, just kind of figuring out his NBA skill set, his NBA readiness, and how far he still has to go to ultimately become a rotation player. And then there's also the, Dalton Knecht part of this of he's someone that the Lakers are hoping can be a rotation player, are projecting to be a rotation player. So him starting to figure out his offensive role and the best way to use him. Then seeing guys like Colin Castleton, who's a two-way guy, Maxwell Lewis, his growth and some of his struggles, especially over the last couple of games. Blake Hinson and his shooting, and then also the shooting slump he's been on over the last couple of games after such a hot start in the opener. Tommy Kuzi and the Caruso comparisons, but also just his wild these runners and flip hook shots and these kind of crazy shots that he makes. And then Armel Traoré, and I know you guys are going to hammer me for butchering his name. I can't say it the same way, but he's been really fun. It was a team worst -17 in his 10 minutes. But so the Lakers lost 80-76. They were up by 8 with a few minutes left in this game. And then the Heat closed this game on a 12-0 run. LA was up 76-68. Heat end up winning 80-76. So LA is 0-3 in Summer League play. And I wanted to provide some general takeaways from the first three Summer League games. And as a reminder, it's Summer League. It's all exhibition games. This is also the California Classic. It's not Las Vegas. So Las Vegas, it's more of a spectacle. The crowd's bigger. There are more players and celebrities sitting courtside. It's just a different scale when you're in Las Vegas. And I'm sure, I don't know exactly when Team USA is leaving Las Vegas, but I would not be surprised if LeBron sticks around to show up for Bronny's game. He always comes to the first Lakers game in Las Vegas. And now that Bronny's playing, I would assume he would at least show up for that game on Friday night. But to quickly hit on each player or each relevant player. I want to start with Dalton Knecht. So he had 20 points on 7 of 8 shooting tonight against Miami, 2 of 8 on threes, 4 for 5 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers. And one adjustment that I think the Lakers started to make with Dalton Knecht was using him a bit more off the ball and less as the primary ball handler. And part of that was inserting Tommy Kuzi as the starting point guard. And he had his own struggles tonight. He is in Tommy Kuzi. He had 7 turnovers to 5 assists. And I thought, especially the last couple of games after a strong debut, you see that he tends to struggle with athleticism and, athletic ball pressure, but also like beating those types of guys off the dribble and creating his own shot and creating shots for others against length and athleticism. So that's ultimately why he's not an NBA player. Like he's got certain, like I think he's has good court vision. I think he has good fundamentals. I think again he hits these kind of crazy shots, and I think he's a good shooter despite he went 1 for 5. But like he's not an NBA level point guard, and I think Dalton Knecht is obviously like he's got ball handling skills and he can attack off the dribble. But for me, the Lakers shifting him off the ball more has been a positive development for him, and using him more as a catch and shoot guy in the corners, but also flying off pin downs and DHOs primarily. And then if he wants to attack out of that in ISO or has a mismatch or just wants to take a guy off the dribble, like that's where I think it's more of his sweet spot. So pros with Dalton Knecht, the shooting is there. He's got the quick trigger. He has not shot the 3 ball well, and again was 2 for 8. But he's been able to get downhill. He's been able to get to the free throw line, draw fouls. I thought 9 rebounds was a good sign of 3 of those were offensive. So he was active on the glass. And in general, I don't think he takes like bad shots. I think he tries to play within his skill set, within the confines of the offense. The cons with him, I would say, one, he has struggled to finish at the rim when he's not getting foul calls. And when he's driving up against a rim protector, he's been blocked a couple times. And just him trying to score over length, both in at the rim and even in isolation and kind of in the mid-range area when he's trying to create his shot there, he's had some trouble creating separation. So that would be in separation, again, kind of in like one-on-one situations in the mid-range, and then also him getting to the rim and either getting blocked or having his shot altered and not being able to finish when he doesn't get foul calls. So that would be one thing for him. 2, I think that when he is the ball handler, like more often than not, he's looking for his own shot. So I wouldn't say he has tunnel vision by any means, but he is a shot creator and a scorer and a shooter first, and a passer and playmaker more so, second or third. So I think that's one thing where just like taking the ball out of his hands a bit more just made more sense. And then 3, he's not a good defender. And guys have been able to go by him, go through him, and he's kind of had a target on his chest. And some of it has been guys hitting tough shots on him, and that's just going to happen at the NBA level. But, especially looking at the teams that they played, like the Kings B team, the Warriors, the Heat, like these aren't teams loaded with a lot of young talent. And I feel like for the most part, Dalton Knecht has been a traffic cone defensively. So that's one area where and we knew that was a concern with him entering the draft and entering his time with the Lakers, but it's been basically as concerning as advertised. And I think he tries. Like I don't think it's a matter of him not caring. Like it's interesting because he uses his size and strength so well offensively to draw fouls and get downhill. And even if he's not making those shots, he's still getting good looks offensively, but it doesn't translate defensively. And that was one of the things that Sam Vecini had in his scouting report breakdown of Dalton Knecht, was like, for whatever reason, his athleticism is much more on the offensive end than on the defensive end. It just hasn't translated. So that's something to monitor with him as he tries to become a rotation player. Of like, it's just that might be a little bit of a cap on his ceiling, at least as a rookie. Is like, if he can't defend, he's gonna have to shoot better than he has so far to get playing time and to have a legitimate role. But again, the shot has looked good. I like the actions that the Lakers have ran, a lot of veer actions. Again, a lot of pin downs and DHOs. And like, I like the looks that he's gotten for the most part. I think it's really going to come down to the defensive end and him improving as a finisher. Cause I think some of the foul calls have been more like summer league foul calls and not calls he's going to necessarily get at the NBA level. I could be wrong on that, but I think, so he's going to have to adjust to that. But overall, like, Salt, like he had 20 points. This was his best offensive performance of summer league. And I think he's starting to show some growth, but I also think the Lakers using him off the ball more, is a smart move. With Bronny, so 3 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 1 for 3 from the floor. And I think Bronny, like, this was the game where we really saw the defensive potential, because 2 steals and 3 blocks, 5 stocks is really good. Obviously, that's like elite level stuff. He just has quick hands and really good instincts. But on top of that, he has a strong, sturdy frame, and he gets wide, he gets low in his stance, and he's disruptive. And I thought, like there were several plays and some of them went viral on Lakers Twitter and were being passed around, but like just several plays of him chasing guys around screens, fighting through screens, keeping guys in front of him, battling. There was the one possession late in the third quarter where he was battling the big and did not cede position. And it ended up, I forgot if it was a foul or a turnover at the end of the possession, but like, that's like him switched onto a big, a guy who had a good 8-10 inches on him, a good 30-40 pounds on him, and he was able to hold his own. And I just think you see like the athleticism, the length, the instincts, and certain things you can't teach defensively. And he still had some moments where he's been like crossed up or beaten off the dribble or just looks a little small, and that's going to happen. And he's going to have to continue to get stronger and learn how to use his body and stay in front of guys better. And like, I still think he's done a pretty good job of that. I'm just saying, like, there's always room for improvement. But defensively, like Bronny, I think was solid in the first game and then was pretty good in this second game. Offensively, had a much smaller role. He went 2 for 9 in the first game he played, just 1 for 3. I think that there needs to be a balance between those two. Like, I didn't love. I went back and rewatched his possessions from that first game, and I thought that he was predetermining some of his reads and some of his drives, and he wasn't able to beat guys off the dribble in certain instances. And then he would settle for a mid-range jumper, and he just didn't make enough of those. And that's not really his game. Like, it's in his bag, but that's not going to be his bag at the next level, at least not as a rookie or most likely as a second-year guy. Like, he's going to need to be a lights-out three-point shooter as a catch-and-shoot guy, and then a lights-out defender. And I think he's trending that way on the defensive end, or at least showing promise. It's the three-point shot. That's the thing that he really needs to develop. And that's something I've talked about before. Like, I think the 3-point shot is going to be the key to his career and his success at the NBA level. Like, him being in his bag and having certain ball handling and dribbling stuff is important. And if he could grow into becoming a point guard, that's a great development for him. But I think right now he projects as a 3-and-D off guard. The Lakers have tended to use him off the ball more. And I think he could be a little bit more aggressive, and they could run some more stuff for him, especially because it's summer league and it's lower stakes and whatnot. But like, I think this is a more appropriate offensive role for him. Like, I don't think like people that are expecting Bronny to be a scorer, he was not that at USC, and he became more of a scorer his senior year of high school. But he's still like, I think he's still more of a role player, a complementary guy offensively. So I think I've seen some people miscasting him as like some go-to guy for the summer league team, and I just don't think that's his skill set, at least not right now. But the defense has been there, and I think that it's just continuing to create more looks for him. Like, I thought in this game he had some pretty good cuts. He had one good cut, back cut for he got fouled and went to the free throw line. Another back cut where he got a layup. So like I think his IQ has really stood out in terms of just he's a smart basketball player, and if you're going to overplay him, he's going to find a way to get open. And then defensively, he has great instincts. So overall, I did not have high expectations for Bronny as an offensive player. So like, I thought he's pretty much been in line with what I expected, but defensively, I think he's been, in my opinion, exceeding expectations on that end, and has looked like a good defender. And it's summer league; he's only played in 2 games, and we'll see how that continues. But so far, so good, at least on the defensive end for Bronny. Max Lewis had a really rough start to this game, and after going, I believe it was 0 for 8 last game, he started this game 0 for 10. Did finish 5 for 5. He went 0 for 10 in the first half, 5 for 5 in the second half. Finished with 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. That is a bit of this is one of those times when the box score makes a player look better than their actual performance. I thought Maxwell Lewis really struggled in this game, and has really struggled the last couple of games with his finishing at the rim. He's been getting blocked. He's been blowing layups. And I think in this one, he did bounce back well in the second half, and he still found ways to be effective. And I don't think he let his poor shooting performance affect his game the way that it did last game. So you continue to see the physical tools with him, like his ability to blow by a defender, get downhill. Defensively, you see the length. But he just has not quite put it all together. And after a really strong debut performance where he looked like a second-year player playing against rookies and guys trying to make the NBA, like now it just kind of looks like they're playing the Kings' second-string team. And he was just playing guys that like probably shouldn't be, or guys who are fringe summer league guys, and that was the main reason why he was so effective. So I think with Lewis, the passing has really been impressive. Like that's been one thing that consistently has impressed me is he will struggle with turnovers at times, but his passing has been on point, and he's got the skill with the passing. And again, 5 assists tonight, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 turnovers. But, and the athleticism with the rebounding and trying to finish at the rim. But he's got to get better at finishing at the rim, finishing through contact, finishing over guys, finishing around guys. That's one area he has to improve on. And his shot making, I think he's been trying to take guys off, he's been testing his limits offensively and trying to take guys off the dribble and break them down and show off his bag and all of his skill set. And that's fine, especially in a summer league setting. But I think at this point he needs to be more of a 3-and-D guy, and his shot is just it's a bit low and it's a bit slow. And those two things make it where when he's attempting jumpers, he can have them easily contested and easily altered. And as a catch and shoot guy, he doesn't have the quickest release. So a lot of times you'll see he's considering going up for the 3. Someone will close out, and then he has to adjust and then put the ball on the floor and then kind of turn it into like a pump and drive. And it's worked at times, but he's just really struggled with his finishing inside the arc. So I think that's something that he's got to improve on. And after a strong debut game, I think his last couple of performances have been disappointing, and it still looks like he's a bit away from sniffing the rotation and probably needs to spend some time in the G League. So he's a guy I don't want to overreact to. He could easily finish this summer league strong in Las Vegas, but again, you see the physical tools and you see some of the skill with the passing and the ability to get downhill and the ability to get to the rim, but he's got to get better at finishing. I think he's got to work on his shot, and I think defensively can get lost a bit. So yeah. And then Colin Castleton had his best, maybe the best game I've ever seen him play. And granted, I didn't watch all of the South Bay games last year, but he had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. And, I just think that the skill is there with him in terms of being a DHO hub. The Lakers will run a lot of their offense through him above the arc and around the elbows. And this was a game where, it was, I think at times a bit of a smaller front line for Miami, but he punished them inside with his finishing and finishing through contact and getting to the free throw line. He punished them with 4 offensive rebounds. And I think this was a better, like 7 for 13 overall, hit his another 3. So his 3-point shot has looked good, had the 4 blocks. And a lot of times, like, I will give him credit. The Lakers went small in this one, where it was either Maxwell Lewis or Dalton Knecht was the power forward, and they didn't play as many, big guys. So a lot of times it was like Colin Castleton trying to battle 2 or 3 guys in the paint for rebounding. And I thought he held his own for the most part. So with him, it continues to be, I think he's still sometimes looks too slight out there, and he can be pushed around a bit. And it's a lot of like him getting knocked down and guys like crashing into his back, and he goes flying out of position. And sometimes it's a foul, and sometimes it's a foul, but they don't call it. And that's just how it goes when you're battling in the paint at the NBA level. So with Castleton, I think it continues to just be like him being more consistent defensively and him continuing to grow and get stronger. But from a skill perspective, like I think he's seems to have added the 3-point shot. We'll see how consistent it is, and we'll see if he can translate it to the NBA level. But like, I mean, he's got some drives. He's been able to make some hook shots and finish through traffic, and like, I think he's got a soft touch, and he's a skilled offensive player. I think it's the other parts of his game, the dirty stuff, really, right? Like the in the trenches stuff that he has shown flashes of, but I think he needs to do it more consistently. Blake Hinson has really struggled the last couple of games with his shot, and his shot is all over the, like when he misses, he's like missing wide left and right and nearly airballing sometimes. And like, he's just really limited outside of his shooting. We've talked about it before, but he's not in great shape, and I think he can stand to get in better shape. Defensively is fouling a lot. He had 4 fouls in this one. He fouled out previously, or he didn't foul out, or he did. He didn't foul out because there's no foul out in summer league, but he had like 7 fouls last game against the Warriors. So it's he needs some work, and like that was one where I think I compared him to Doug McDermott, and like the offense, like the shooting and the skill set and his ability to create his shot, like you see that type of potential. But Doug McDermott's a much better defender than him, and Doug McDermott's like not a good defender. So I think like that's a good like player archetype for him to strive for. But in terms of the rebounding and the defense, he had a really bad turnover where he got double teamed and he just threw the ball away. And like he's still a bit raw, and he can improve in several regards. And then Armel Traoré, as I mentioned, was a team worst -17 in his 10 minutes. Like, he's been very impressive just with his motor and his energy. Still is very dependent on guys, dump off passes, offensive rebounds, lobs. Like, that's most of his offense. Though he's more skilled than that. Like, you'll see he'll have some nice finds for cutters or like DHO scoop passes, and but just really active. A couple of offensive rebounds, had a block. Like he's very switchable. Like, the defense to me has been the most encouraging thing of like he's been able to switch on to guards and wings and hold his own. So he's to me like after he had a slow debut, but after that, like I think he's outplayed Hinson, and I think like he's been in the conversation for like most impressive rookie on this team, in my opinion. Right there. I mean, like every guy has their different roles, and it's kind of hard to compare because there isn't really another guy. Like, I guess you're comparing him to Castleton, but they have different skill sets and they do different things. But his defensive versatility and just his energy, his motor, his activity, like those are all pluses that the Lakers could use. And he is a bit on the smaller side. He's about like, I believe like 6'10". So if he's 7 foot and can do some of these things like that, that's a Derek, like he's like a Derek Lively Jr. in some ways. Obviously not like, does not have the passing, does not have the finishing, and does not have the defensive skill as Derek Lively, but like you see the shades of it in his game. So that's really it with these guys. I think the Lakers are going to have a long road ahead in Las Vegas. This is going to be a team that I think struggles. Like, they don't have a lot of shot making outside of Knecht and Hinson. The shot creation has been rough at times, and they don't have like Kuzi's had some good moments, but they don't really have that floor general who's going to arrange the offense. And again, as I said, Kuzi can struggle against athleticism. So like this team's going to be rough offensively, and they've been pretty bad defensively. It's really just come down to can Castleton and Traoré like battle multiple people and like protect the rim, but also protect the glass. And like, it's a lot. So I think this team's going to struggle in Las Vegas. I could be wrong, but we're starting to see some signs. I don't think any of these guys right now are ready to be rotation players. Maybe Knecht. It really depends on how he shoots and how he develops defensively. And I think he'll eventually get there and will likely be a 9th or 10th man to like start the season. But I think people need to pump the brakes with like rookie of the year and that stuff was premature. And again, there's still multiple games left and multiple opportunities for these guys to show stuff that we've only seen flashes of, show it more consistently, show new parts of their game. So it's too early to make assessments in either direction, but these are just some of my first impressions and just assessing their skill sets as we've seen these 3 games, and then for some of these guys going back to last season. But that will do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. For those on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, drop a comment, and like this video. For those on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your podcast platform of choice, please be sure to follow, download, and leave a 5-star review. As of right now, I will be back next week, barring something crazy happening with the Lakers. If the Lakers make a move, I will be back with a reaction and covering it. Otherwise, I'm in meetings all day with the Athletic Thursday and Friday. Got the Lakers game Friday night. And then I'm going to be networking and enjoying myself Saturday and Sunday in Las Vegas. So tentatively, we'll be back on Monday. But either way, I will talk to you soon.